This is deep dish, right?
Yeah, well, let's get deep.
So I'm going deep on both sides.
Dr. Laura, welcome to the platform. How you doing?
I'm super excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you here. You're looking fabulous,
Thank
by the way.
you.
I love the garments.
I
love the
tried.
garment. Where you get that from?
Threads by Dreads.
Oh, shout out to her.
Yes.
Is she Ghanaian?
I believe so.
Shout out to her.
And a portion of the proceeds goes to fund education in
Okay.
our home country. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, there's some synergy around
Right.
there. Right
Absolutely.
there. And so, we know that most of us know that you're the executive director of the Tennessee Higher Education Initiative.
Yes.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I love when I talk to fellow Nashville natives.
Homegirl.
Homegirl. You know we're unicorns.
I know,
we
we
ain't
are.
Ain't too many of us left.
You're absolutely right.
And so I want to a little bit just like, how was it for you growing up in Nashville?
Yeah, it was interesting. I will say this about at least the old Nashville. Growing up young and black in Nashville and coming from a family without a lot of financial resources, we pretty much stayed in our area. So I think during that time, you could grow up in Nashville and really believe like the city looked like you because your view of the city was so limited, you know.
Right.
We lived, I went to elementary school at Carter Lawrence.
Okay.
Right across from Edge Hill Projects.
Right.
Then we moved to Golden Valley, and I went to Kings Lane.
Oh, I went to Kings Lane.
I graduated from Whites Creek High School. So my world, for the most part, was pretty much, you know.
Wow.
That was my hood.
I wonder if you know some of my people.
I probably know. I wonder if you know some of my people.
Because so my daddy graduated from Whites Creek. So
Now, wait a minute. Are you trying to say I'm as old as you?
No, I don't know. My mama graduated from Whites Creek. And so I'm gonna tell you how old my daddy is. So
Okay.
My daddy and most of his siblings went to North
Okay.
High before there was a Whites Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And then so my daddy was born in 62, my mom was born in 70.
Okay, I was
And
born
so-
in 70.
Oh, so you might know my mama.
I might.
Brene Cork.
The name's not ringing a bell.
Okay.
That doesn't mean anything
Right.
because we're a little bit older.
right.
So maybe if I see the face,
But
yes.
my Auntie Terry.
We'll have to talk.
Potter.
We'll have to talk and see if we know
that whole
some
side.
of the same people. But my point was, you know, during that time in Nashville, it felt very small.
Right.
It felt like you were connected to most, if not everyone in your circle. And this new Nashville is interesting.
Yeah.
So I left, went away to graduate school, married a family, and I've been back full time about 5 years.
Okay.
I think it's been close to 5 years that I've been back full time. And it's a different city. It's interesting to feel like at times an outsider in my own hometown because parts of it have changed so tremendously. You know, even coming back home in the whole Gulch area, my husband, his family lives not far from the Gulch. And, you know, having spent those early years in the Edge Hill Project area, I'm like, this is so different. Like, this is different. So I definitely think some of the progress has been good. Other parts of the progress seriously concern me. So I'm glad to be in Nashville during this time.
Right.
To be part of that conversation and possibly part of the change for the better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that you worded it like that because I try to I break it down to people the same way. I didn't know Nashville was so white.
Exactly.
Like the plainly
Yes.
put it.
In a nutshell.
In a
Same
nutshell.
thing. Yes, in a nutshell. Yes, yeah.
I didn't know because
Right.
like I was in my community bubble.
Right,
You know, and so
exactly.
everybody looked at it like me and reflected, even the teachers in the school, everything.
Right.
Students, everybody 99.9%. Right.
Yes.
And so when you get out and like, oh,
this is going on.
right. So I wanna so you left, came back, been back 5 years.
Right.
Prior to taking the position with what were you doing before that?
So I've done a lot of different. I've done a lot of different things. I've taught. I'm a certified Montessori teacher.
Okay.
I've led schools, primarily charter schools. I've taught in private schools. Before coming back to Nashville full time, I did some contract work with Metro Nashville Public Schools.
Okay.
Through a company out of Boston, working with the priority schools. So although I've been back 5 years, I was in and out of Tennessee, kind of tangentially seeing some of the change that was taking place and seeing some of our communities that were being left behind.
Right.
So when I came back to Nashville full time, I worked for the Family Center.
Okay.
And we were working with families experiencing incarceration and how do we go about reunifying the family pre-release so that post-release we have this opportunity to have a whole family unit.
Right.
So when I saw the position for THEI that married education, which is my love, because when you're an educator, where are you? You under a rock?
Right.
You behind a door, you're in a prison and you need some education. Let me bring this transformative and liberative power of education to you.
Right.
So when I saw this opportunity to really harness education as a social justice object, and to also have this opportunity to deal with trauma, in one position, I was like, this is something I want to apply to do.
Right.
This is something I think I should do. You know, Max Lucado talks about the sweet spot. So we go to school, we have this education, we have these skills that we've developed, we have these giftings, and where all of these things intersect is the sweet spot. And the work at THEI is definitely the sweet spot for me, for people who've never had the opportunity to work behind the wall. I still, a year in, don't have all the words to express what it's like to walk into a carceral facility, to hear those doors closed, to walk down the hall or to walk across the yard and have the opportunity within this system of harm to sit down and really, I say it all the time because it explains it well, and bring this transformative and liberative power of education behind the wall. It is our hope. It is our prayer that our brothers and sisters will all come home at some point. But if they don't, in their words, there's a liberation that they experience through this educational program. Our students tell us that when they're in class, they feel like a person.
Right.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm humanized. I'm seen. My thoughts are listened to and respected. So yeah, it's incredible work that I feel, really honored, privileged, and blessed to do.
Well, let's dive right into it then.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of questions.
You got a lot of questions. I hope I got some answers.
I believe you do. But I want to start off like the word justice, right? Because I think that's a broad term, and it can mean different things for different people. So in the capacity that you are working in with those who may be currently incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, what does that word mean to you? And what does that look like?
Oh my gosh, you came out with the big gun. What does justice mean to me? I will tell you that prior to taking this position, I thought I really knew what justice was.
What was it prior?
I think it was just ensuring that people, now mind you, my background primarily was pre-K through 12 education.
Right.
Was ensuring that each individual had the opportunity to reach and or access their full potential. And if there were barriers, removing those barriers. All of that has changed in the past year. Although you read about our criminal justice or our criminal legal system, it's one thing to read about it. It's quite a different situation to to observe it up close and personally. So I don't want to sit here and pretend that I have it all figured out, because I don't. I'm a year into this, and literally week by week, my definitions and my understandings change as we have the opportunity to work with new students, with new systems, and encounter new barriers. Not trying to sidestep it. I'm just being real.
I'm gonna throw another one at you.
I hope it's not that big.
I'm not. I'm gonna simplify it for you.
Yeah.
Can we have? Is there such thing as justice in this country, especially when we talk about the criminal legal system? Is it? Have we even seen what that looks like?
And I think therein lies the problem. Like, what is the standard? Right. What is the measure? I love to cook. And I bring that up because when you're cooking, although you can make some modifications to the recipe, you have a standard for how to bake a cake. Right. You have a standard for how to make shrimp scampi, and then you can make some modifications to it, to suit your liking. Mm-hmm. But when we think about the system within which we're attempting to bring in this liberative power of education, what is the standard for justice? I don't know that we've ever seen that. I don't even know that we fully know what that is, given the origin of our current legal system, at least our current carceral system, being that it is the grandchild of slavery. Right. How do we get back to what is justice? Right. Yeah.
You brought up your educational experience from K to 12, right? And so I thought it was like kind of ironic in a way that you are now working with those that are currently or formerly incarcerated around education, and then you have this big scheme thing around the school to prison pipeline. How does that intersect with what you do currently and what you've seen? And are you seeing like, this is how Black boys specifically, end up here?
Have you been eavesdropping?
No, I haven't been eavesdropping.
I think you've been eavesdropping. And so I think that's why, I know that's why it's taking me longer to fully formulate my complete thoughts around this work that I'm doing, because to be on this end of the school to prison pipeline is mind blowing. When we have the opportunity to speak to our students and they talk about their prior school trauma, it's so clear to me how so many of our students ended up where they are now. And it started with the failure of our school system for many of them. So it's interesting to be on this side of the story. And it's compelling me to begin to have more of those conversations with the district now, so that teachers can fully understand and own their role. Right. Like, you have an obligation to ensure that students learn how to read and write and do arithmetic, but it's so much larger and greater than that. Right. And I would really like to invite them to come with me and see the stakes. Right. To see what's at stake when we don't get it right on this pre-K through 12 level.
And you brought up trauma too. And this question is a little bit of a twist. Because I know, somebody, a student that you're working with can, articulate their trauma and paint that picture. But I wonder, does that bring up anything within you personally? That you maybe didn't know that was there, just residual effects from just working through K through 12, or just your personal journey to where you are now?
Absolutely. I think if it didn't, I wouldn't be well suited to do this job. I say that if you're able to go behind those walls every day, or how often I go, and not be at all affected by what you see, by what you hear, and you feel nothing, it's probably not the type of work that you need to be doing. So absolutely, prisons are typically located in remote areas, which entails a drive to the facility and a drive away from the facility And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for that hour, 2 or 3 hour drive to really prepare myself mentally to go in and work with the students we're privileged to work with. I'm also thankful for that hour, 2, 3 hour drive home to really process all that I've seen, all that I've heard, and all that I have felt during my visit there. So definitely, I think it's one of the reasons why at THEI we have a self-care stipend, because this is hard work,
Right.
but it's also heart work.
Right.
And we realize that. So it's really important to not just pretend like you didn't feel it, like you didn't see it, but to acknowledge it, deal with it, and take good care of yourself. So absolutely, there have been times when hearing a story that a student shared about something that happened in elementary or middle school, I've thought about my own experience as a teacher. What did I do? Or what did I do that I shouldn't have done? Or what didn't I do that I needed to do or would have done? Hindsight is 20/20. Had I had the hindsight of being on this end of the spectrum, things that I woulda, coulda, should have done differently.
You have children of your own.
I do.
How does that hit you being a mother and seeing all these black and brown bodies, poor bodies,
Right.
encaged?
Yeah.
And knowing that, this world is a little rougher and tougher and harder.
Right.
This system,
Right.
on black and brown bodies.
Yeah.
Does that hit you a little different too, knowing that you can do the best job possible as a mother or as a father?
Absolutely. I don't know of any black mother or father that doesn't feel that. Even prior to doing this work in carceral systems, every black parent has the talk. Right? You have the talk with your children, especially if you have sons, and I have 2 sons and a daughter. So yeah, of course I feel the weight of that. I felt the weight of that before this work, just in watching the news and living in my community and seeing the unequal treatment of black and brown children. So certainly going behind the wall and seeing all of this brilliance, seeing all this black abundance caged has certainly caused me to have some nights of reflection, not just about my children, but about everyone in prison is somebody's child, right? Somebody's uncle, somebody's daddy. And just now I find myself, when I see children in the neighborhood, just thinking, what can we do to be the community for this child, for that child? Because that's really what it takes.
I know one of y'all's tagline is like this: disrupt system of harm through education. Harm is that stood out to me because I believe we're a country that just has an infatuation with harm and punishment.
But how could we not, given our founding?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you see a way to pivot around harm, around punishment, given what you see every day? And I know education is a way that you all are using to disrupt it. But 90% of our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated come home.
95%.
95. Oh, it's 90.
95% are coming home.
Not reentry.
Maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, but 95%.
95. I gotta up that.
95% are coming home.
95% are coming home.
Absolutely.
And we'll speak about this later, but the reentry barriers.
Right. The reentry barriers are real. One of the things I say is, like you've just alluded to, 95% of our sisters and brothers behind the wall are coming home at some point. And if we continue to do what we've always done, within 3 years, 47% will return to incarceration. If we look at that over a 5-year trajectory, 75% will return to incarceration. However, We know that when we introduce post-secondary educational options while the individual is incarcerated, we reduce the risk of recidivism by 48%.
Wow.
So it really is a game changer because we know the difference that education makes. Right. I think, first of all, it really speaks to the persistence of the students we get to serve. It's hard enough to pursue a degree in the free world.
Right.
Less knowing in a system that is doing everything it can to prevent you from persisting in completing that degree on the inside. And I also like to tell people that in the 10 years we've been doing this work, no one for whom we have coordinated a degree has returned to incarceration.
Wow.
So that speaks to that circle of support, that community that we put around students as they prepare to be released, and post release. So if you look at the entirety of it, of the system, it can really become overwhelming. And I know for me, it could be easy to get into this mindset of, I can't break the entire system, so why even try? But this is the part that we can do.
Right.
And then we join with other nonprofits that do the part that they can do. And this organization does the part that it can do. But the part that we do and do well is bring education as that liberative force, and then support our students pre-release and post-release. Because, recidivism is important. That recidivism rate is important. We all like to say, 0% have returned for whom we have coordinated a degree, but not returning to prison is the low bar, right?
Right, yeah.
That is the low bar, not being back in prison. What are we doing so that people can have a complete and full life and thrive?
Right.
And so that's where our reentry team really picks up. So, yeah, not going back to prison is important, but that's down here.
Right.
Yeah, we want to do so much more than that.
I want to go so many different ways with this.
Where you want to go?
It's so much. It's so much.
You got another big gun?
I got like 10 of them things. But I want to ask you this question. We know you all have proof, the stats, that the programs that you all develop and initiate work. They literally, save lives.
Amen.
Why don't we have more support from our government to have more of these programs, to keep more people from going or returning to jails or prisons?
Yeah. I will say this, Pell is on the verge of being fully restored. With the 1984 crime bill, Pell was no longer available to incarcerated individuals. We're now in this stage of second chance Pell, where a limited number of schools have signed up and are now facilitating HEP, or higher education in prison programs, through second chance Pell. And in 2023, Pell will be fully restored. And I believe at that time, we are going to see, we're already seeing it, this explosion of colleges and universities looking to get into the HEP space.
Okay.
I don't know what their motives are. Their motives might be increased enrollment, additional revenue. But I think regardless of their motives, it's an incredible opportunity for organizations like mine that do this work with a mind toward liberation, to be at the table, to be part of the conversation, to ensure that there are high quality programs that are really preparing students for release, and providing support post-release. Interestingly enough, in Tennessee, there's an incredible amount of support for higher education in prison programs. Over half our budget comes from the state funding our work in Tennessee prisons. I don't think that's the case everywhere, but again, it's an incredible time to be having these conversations. In Tennessee, we're also connecting with folks in North Carolina. We're connecting with folks in South Carolina to have these conversations like, you have this opportunity to take advantage of Pell, but we want to be sure you utilize it responsibly, right? that you're bringing in high quality programming for our sisters and brothers behind the wall,
Right.
that's truly preparing them for success post release.
Right. I was looking at y'all website. You got a stat here, right? It says through the program, right? It costs $3,710 per year. That's the cost for a student to go, one student to go through y'all's program, right? Where there is, $28,043 per year to keep somebody incarcerated. That was mind blowing to me.
Right.
That is crazy to me. That the value, right, is it's just mind blowing. Right. And then you start to think about these private prisons and the revenue and the money that they're making off of the bodies that's in there.
But I don't think that's news to anyone that prisons are about money.
That's not news. It's not.
If it is news, then we have some more education to do.
It's not news, but I think for me, you hear a lot of restorative justice talk, right?
Right.
And a lot of these conversations that we recognize that we have a problem. And we recognize that we got a crime problem, but clearly, prisons are not the answer.
Right, they're not rehabilitative in general. Yeah.
And so, right, so it's like okay, but we see that education is an answer. Right. Right, and so it just that's the mind-boggling part when I think about our incarceration system and how it just recognizes it don't work. However,
it doesn't work.
But we're gonna make sure we funnel. We're gonna keep funneling money
it's
instead
a $1 billion industry.
Instead of putting money in something else that let's try something different. Which is just let's get more programs like these. Let's get more of those things going. Put the money behind that.
Absolutely.
And let's see if it works. Let's see if we have a less harmful country, society,
absolutely,
communities.
Well, we're certainly spreading that gospel at THEI. We are spreading the gospel far and wide, and we're sharing with people the work that we're doing at THEI, how we're bringing these different partners together between the Department of Correction, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, community colleges, four-year colleges, how we're bringing all of these people together to facilitate a high-quality, outcome-based higher education in prison program. Yeah, the system does not work. And again, if you look at it too long, you'll just say, forget it.
Right.
But no, we're using this time in this opportunity, like this convergence of events, to really spread the gospel about what can be done through higher education and prison programming.
How does one that is currently incarcerated become eligible to participate in one of the programs that you all offer?
That's a great question. So prior to this year, we were only in 3 prisons.
Okay.
We have now received funding to coordinate degree programs in every direct run prison in the state.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. We're super excited. So we've started that rollout of, expanding to each prison. Will be fully expanded by January.
Okay.
So we've started the process. So what we do is we have an informational session at the facility, and we work with the facility. One of the barriers we have is people being prevented from coming to the informational session. So we're working with the higher ups at TDOC to be sure everyone knows about the programming. And if you have a high school credential, you're eligible.
Okay.
Period. If you need remedial instruction, once you start, we coordinate that. But all you need is a high school credential and a willingness to persist and do the work.
What are that's
hey. I mean, it just doesn't get even right. It's very simple.
Well, I think, and two, before I move on to the next question, I think too that's the point. Right, I think people that are already disenfranchised, marginalized, there's already enough barriers.
Absolutely.
Let's not create more barriers.
Absolutely.
When we're trying to help, like we see things like that. They're like, if you want to help people, Like it should be little to no barriers.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome that it's just that simple.
It really is that simple. So for, in Tennessee, anyone can pursue an associate degree through Tennessee Promise.
Right.
So the same is true on the inside. And so for our 4-year degree partners, we do the FAFSA, we utilize Pell, and for any cost that's not covered, THEI covers it, or the college or university writes it off. So even for students pursuing their bachelor's degree, right now we have a program through Lane, which is the first HBCU bachelor's degree program in Tennessee behind the wall. So we're super excited about that. They're at one facility. They'll be in 2 of our facilities next year, and then Belmont University also has a program behind the wall that we coordinate. No cost to the student, not a single penny.
And so I know that if you have a felony, funding could be an issue. Getting federal funding could be an issue for college. And so is there something, say I, graduated high school, committed an offense, and did some time in prison and have a felony, but I didn't have the opportunity to go through a D program. But I still want to get some type of education, but I know maybe I can't afford it.
In the free world?
In the free world.
Once you're released?
Yeah, and once I release, and I'm back in the free world, back in the community. Is D a place that I could go and seek assistance with trying to get that educational development?
So one of the things that we really struggle with at THEI is our point of entry is behind the wall.
Okay.
And once we engage with you behind the wall, your family, we're with you for life. We're with you post-release. But heretofore, we've not engaged with formerly incarcerated students already in the free world. Our point of entry is behind the wall, and we continue with you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wondered that because I know many times if you've been incarcerated, you probably know others who have.
Right.
And then you're like, hey, I went through this program.
Exactly. I'm
on
the inside.
I'm on the inside, but then maybe they can help you on the outside too. Because you all create that alumni program, that family, and you all are sticking with them through death does us part.
That's right.
And so I think that's amazing. Yeah. But I wanted to get clarity around it too, because somebody might,
and we do have people approach us now. They're called Reconnect Navigators.
Okay. We
can direct them to them. And they can help them get everything squared away. But our entry point is behind the wall.
I'm curious. What is the most challenging part about your job?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm just because it's a lot.
I mean, I will say there's several parts that are challenging, but I think I'll just speak honestly. It's the relationship building with people from every political view, every religious view, every social justice view, and being able to sit at the table and have conversations, because if I leave the table, then our students don't get served.
Right.
So it's really being able to sit with anyone about the work. I think that is I know that's the most challenging part of the work. And there are people that are critical. When I sit at the table with certain people, the response is, I can't believe you're having a conversation with this entity or this organization. And my response is, first of all, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'll say it. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I've said it to my board. If Pablo Escobar's family has some money that they're going to give us to help me get people free,
right,
I'm taking it, because I don't know where the clean money is in America. If you show me how we measure clean money in America, but I haven't been able to figure out where clean money is. When I think about foundations and organizations and I trace them back, like where is the clean money? But what I do know is I need to get my people free through this education, and I can't do that without resources. So that is definitely right now the most difficult part of the job, is like sitting down and saying to myself, how does this affect students? How does this move our mission and our vision?
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's actually pushback.
You think? Yeah.
It's actually, hold on. This is actually pushback from community members.
Right.
On trying to educate those that are currently incarcerated.
The pushback is, well, I think you should do this work, but you shouldn't be having conversations with this organization. I think you should do this work, but you shouldn't take money from this foundation. And my question back to them is, so where is the line?
Right.
And who sets it
Right.
as to the good money?
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any, or has there been?
I'm gonna wonder if I'm gonna want that in there, but
It's in there. We in there, Dr. Lord. We in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna wonder if I'm gonna want that in there. But that's real talk.
That's deep dish.
That's real talk that we have to have serious conversations about, because typically it's people with more entitlement that are telling me where the clean money and the dirty money is.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Yeah.
The irony.
Yeah.
That tends to be the case.
Yeah.
In this country. Is there ever any pushback from prisons
About education?
about education and wanting to educate the population?
I will say
that they
that the pushback is not outright.
Okay.
But there's certainly barriers that are often put barriers put out there that make it more difficult to facilitate the education. Yeah, there's certainly barriers. Not at every facility.
Right.
Some facilities more so than others.
Student barriers. I'm curious if some facilities intentionally try to make it harder for the population that they serve and that's currently incarcerated at their facility to experience a wholesome education that you all are offering.
And so those are the barriers I'm talking about. Like
Okay.
we have facilities that don't allow technology of any sort.
Okay.
Like of any sort. Yeah, even when I was in college, we had technology. So that certainly makes it more challenging. Arbitrary rules that are sometimes put in place that provide barriers. I don't know that I want to go into details because, again, these are people that I have to sit at the table with and maintain good relationship with, because if not, if we can't get in the door, we can't facilitate the education.
Right.
Yeah.
Demographically, you all serve both men and women prisons?
We're just starting to serve. We just started to serve our first female prison.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just started a month ago.
I know they're excited about that.
Yes, we're excited about it.
Who do you see, I guess, taking advantages of these opportunities? Is it the black, the brown, the white, all the above?
It's all. It's all. Like, we don't have a shortage of people that want access to programming. I can't even say that it's, it's our Caucasian students, our black students, our Hispanic students. It's like everybody wants it.
Right.
They do. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And they're showing that initiative.
Right, absolutely.
Right.
Because it does take a lot of initiative to pursue a degree behind the wall. Students, again, I'll just say, have lots of barriers. Even getting to and from class each day is a series of choices and a search that has to take place individually of each person.
Right.
Before class and after class. Sometimes missing meal or having to have a meal really late. Sometimes missing recreation time. Sometimes missing, phone time that you would be able to call your family, but they make that sacrifice because they know in 2 or 3 years,
right,
I'm going to have this degree.
right. Going inside of those walls. How many visits do you think you make a year? Like in a year, how many visits?
I certainly don't make as many visits as our academic coordinators.
Okay.
So our academic coordinators are there at least once a week, multiple times a week.
Wow.
Our transitional programs team is there to meet with people pre-release. So I certainly don't
Right.
visit as frequently as they do. I've been with the organization a year, and if I had to guess, I've probably been into different facilities maybe 20 times in a year.
That's a lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot of times.
it's a lot. It is.
It's a lot of times. I asked that question because
Right.
I wanted to get a scope of like how many times you've seen it and ask you, do you think that the structure of what prison looks like ever changes? Does it ever becomes more rehabilitating? The environment of it become more rehabilitating for those who, you know, commit offenses allegedly or
Right.
or outright.
Right.
Do you think it ever becomes something that can be holistic where people can really rehabilitate and get educational programs and get therapy and all of those things, because we are really trying to
Right.
help out those folks, those 95%
Right. That are coming home.
that are coming home.
I have seen, and so again, I've only been at this a year. I have been surprised at the openness regarding some of the ideas we brought in.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's wonderful. I'm not saying that this is like, you know, a great place to be, but I've been surprised at the openness. Like even with the Lane program, we want to bring in this HBCU bachelor's degree program, and the response was, we think that would be great. I was on a Zoom before we got here talking about additional mental health resources that are about to be brought in. If this is the continuum, and this is the beginning and this is the end, we're still right here at the beginning.
Right.
But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about some of the gains that we're making here in Tennessee, and I'm saying very cautiously. And again, I don't want anyone to misunderstand that I'm saying this is wonderful, that it's rehabilitative, because it's not.
Right.
But I'm saying you have to start somewhere, and we're pushing the envelope, and we're getting a good response to the things we're requesting.
I'm curious because of your connection to the Tennessee prisons, and I wonder what your relationship is like with these people I'm going to name. Right. I think Martisha Johnson, our chief public defender, Chief Drake, our police chief here, and our DA, Glenn Funk. And possibly the mayor. I don't know, but I think like those three primarily, who are all black folks.
Not the mayor. Not the mayor.
Not the mayor of Funk, but Chief Drake and Martisha Johnson. Right. As far as I'm not talking about our legal system, criminal legal system, and law enforcement. Do you have a relationship with those individuals, and what are those conversations like?
I don't.
Really?
I don't. I've just, started serving on, I was appointed, not a close relationship with the mayor, but was just appointed by the mayor to a council. But with the other individuals, I've met Chief Drake. I don't have a relationship with him because when THEI enters, that process has already occurred.
Right.
These individuals are already incarcerated, and we're coming in to coordinate education and to provide pre-entry and re-entry support. So we're just kind of like on different parts of the continuum.
And you all focus specifically on prison and not jail.
Right. We do not do jail education. That's correct. Because not that we wouldn't, but we really want students to have the time, if at all possible, to begin and complete.
Right. And then which is a slippery slope when you talk about jail.
Right. It because they might.
They might be there for 5 years before they get a trial, or so which is which is crazy, but you know, it happens.
So I had a conversation with Shelby County 2 weeks ago about doing a pilot in one of their jails, just to see if it would be feasible, because we want the students to get far enough along that they will be able to complete. Like if they're going to be released in a year, we want to see if it's possible. Could we provide the support? So I'll let you know how that turns out.
No, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think you and Martisha, our chief public defender, y'all should definitely connect.
We probably should.
Like maybe I could connect.
Why don't you do that?
I think I'm gonna do that,
homeboy.
Yeah, I think I should do that.
Right.
No, because I think the more collective voices you all have around these things, around what does this change look like in our criminal legal system and our penitentiaries and things like that, and you know, they have to come in contact. They either come in contact with Martisha, Chief Drake, or you at some point. So it seems like that it makes sense.
It does make sense
for a conversation to be happening, or figuring out like, hey, how can we work together in some weird way?
Right.
Right. So
I'll be honest with you. For the first year, I just had my head down. Like I'm a Nashvilleian, but I left.
Right.
And coming back in this new position, my thing was I need to know my work.
Right.
I need to do my homework and know my work before I put my head up and start making these connections in the community. Because if I don't know what I'm talking about, I really don't need to be talking about the work.
Right.
So it's been a year for me to really feel like, okay, I kind of know the work that we do.
Right.
I know our imprint. I know our impact. And now I can begin to have those conversations with people in my community.
What is one of the things that you learned about either about yourself or the work that just kind of surprised you as you've been going through this journey for the last year?
I think I knew this, but I know it more deeply now, is that community is important. I mean, I've always known that.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this one at you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this one at you because I've talked to like a lot of judges, a lot of attorneys, candidates, and one of the things that they all kind of bring up a lot of times is like, hey, if I can be put out of my job, it'd be great, but it can't just be me, right? It has a lot of stuff has to happen within and with community, because when they get to me, it's kind of too late,
right?
And so I know you all are really ingrained in that family community resource. What can people do in community to better support those from entering the penitentiary system or re-entering the free world community from being formerly incarcerated? Yeah,
I'm going to answer that. But I was about to say is community is important. So even in carceral systems, there are distinct communities that exist. And I think people assume, well, you know, maybe those communities have a negative connotation. But no, there's real positive, important, serious community that already exists. So we've got our community in the carceral systems. We have our community outside the carceral systems, and just really thinking, I think we think those are very different, and they're not. Community is community. People want to belong. They want to matter. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. Now on to your question of what can our larger community do. One of the things we've just launched is called Just One, where we have engaged primarily Black faith-based organizations to partner with us to support just one of our alumni.
Okay.
We had a wonderful session at the house last month, kind of walking them through what that looks like, because traversing reentry is difficult. It's no small feat. So that's one of the things the community at large can do for people re-entering society, is come alongside nonprofits like THEI and support our students as they traverse reentry. But that's after they've been incarcerated. Right. What can we do on this other end of the spectrum to prevent incarceration? And I think you see some of those things happening now. The community coming together, like I said, it has really made an impact on me to think about my career as a pre-K through 12 educator, my work in coaching principles. That's come full circle now. Like, what lessons can we share with that community for students that we see that are marginalized or having difficulty or dealing with trauma, community-based trauma or trauma in their home? What supportive factors can we put around them to prevent them from entering the criminal legal system? But community, again, you said, what did I learn? That community matters.
Right.
I mean, we say it so generally, oh, my community, but it really matters.
So this is the challenge that I took on to myself. And I'm gonna set this up with a question.
You gotta set it up? Okay,
I'ma
set it up. Set it up.
Because I had to think about when I started thinking about restorative justice, right? Talked to all of our fabulous judges and things and learned about what that really meant, right? About that, really forgiving a person that might have committed a harmful act against me. Whether it's broke my car window, broke into my house, physically harmed me, right? It can be different spectrums of that, right?
Right.
They have to take accountability, and we have to be able to sit down and have a conversation, right? And go through that together. And I started thinking about it like, that's kind of tough. That's kind of hard. And I was like, and I started to play back in my mind, like, how many times I've heard people say, man, lock them up, throw them into jail. They need to go to prison. And I was like, do we actually, as a country, as a society, do we really want to get rid of like prisons? Do we really want to practice restorative justice? Are we really capable of that? Because we could all just be indoctrinated and conditioned to, punishment without even knowing, right? We might be infatuated subconsciously, not even knowing. And I just thought about my own thoughts of what I felt should happen to people, or maybe what I wanted to personally do to people. In my upbringing. And so I pose that to you. Do you feel that when we talk about community, is community really ready to embrace a restorative pivot alternative away from prison punishment?
What happens if we don't? What happens if we don't? How many more prisons can we build? How many more people can we lock up when we know that 95% are coming home? And if we don't do the work of restoration, I mean, can we afford not to embrace it?
I think because we don't know what that looks like, we never tried it, I think that's the scary part. It's like saying we should get rid of policing, which many people feel like we should, and some people feel like, no, we need it. We don't know what no policing looks like to really truly measure what it will or will it won't do to communities. Will it make communities safer? or will things turn into the wild, wild west?
We don't know what it's like to be in true community with each other, given the founding of our country. How could we? But I think it's worth the try. Yeah. Because we know what we're doing now isn't working. Right. We know it's not working. Right. And so what is the definition of insanity? Right, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So we can't continue to do the same thing, which is why, I take it back to the little part that we can do. I don't have all the answers, but I know the little part that THEI is doing, and that's we have our brothers and sisters that are behind the wall. We know that this intervention, if that's what you want to call it, education, is a game changer. And how can we do that and do it well and continue to support those sisters and brothers once they're released? I don't think we have the luxury to not think differently about our criminal legal system. We don't have the luxury of not thinking differently about it. I'm going to throw another big one at you right now. Power, right? Some people can look at power and think that's a great thing. Some people can look at it and think it's a negative thing, because depending on how you use that power. Dr. Laura, I look at you now as a person that has power in the space, in the lane that you're operating in. I think your voice is and can be very powerful on the type of social change that we have in our criminal legal system
within the education realm, penitentiary, what they may or may not look like. Being a year in, now you didn't got your head up, you running.
I'm just starting to be like, I'm not
ready.
running. Don't put words in my
look,
mouth.
Look, I'm gonna say it.
I got a little jog going on. I got a jog going on.
You got a little jog. Have you thought about how to use your power of your voice? Because you having a proximity to experiences that everyday people are just not gonna have. They just don't.
Yeah.
Which are giving you a very unique perspective on what people are experiencing on a daily basis and what people need in order to be whole and have that confidence that you spoke about and feel humanized.
Right, absolutely.
Early in the conversation. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about how you can use that, your responsibility to speak and use your voice?
Right. I continue to think about it. And so one of the things we're doing at THEI is the Tennessee Prison College Coalition.
Okay.
Where we're really codifying the work that we've been doing over the past 10 years, but more specifically the work we've been doing over the past 2 years to bring partners together and what it looks like to really collaborate for the benefit of currently and formerly incarcerated individuals. So we're doing that work through the Tennessee Prison College Coalition. We're also working with VERA and other national organizations to share those learnings because we don't want THEI to be, what am I trying to say? An exception.
Right.
We want to share these learnings so that other states and communities can develop similar programs and get similar outcomes. I'm still thinking through the best way for us to amplify the work that we do and to amplify the messages. Right. I would be lying if I said I had all of the answers, but we're doing it in small and meaningful ways, like I said, in connecting with people from North Carolina, from South Carolina, sharing those learnings as they build their higher education in prison programs. We're doing it when we have workshops. I was just in Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta at Mississippi Valley State University, which will be the first HBCU in that area to have a program behind the wall. So we're beginning to use our voice in that way in training their faculty and administration about how to do this responsibly, how to do it in a high quality way with good outcomes, how to ensure that everyone on your team is aware that prison is a system that perpetuates harm.
Right.
And how you must come in with this mindset of disrupting harm, even in the small things, even in the language that you use in describing our students. So yeah, it's not fully formulated, but it's coming together.
Right.
Yeah.
This just came to mind when you were speaking. Theda Murphy. You know, do you know?
No, I don't know anybody.
I'm gonna connect you to some people because there's so much synergy in, Theda is with Theda. Forgive me. No exceptions. There's no exceptions. I should know this. Sorry, Theda. But it's an organization. They're true abolitionists.
Okay.
And so pretty much the way prisons and things are set up, pretty much slavery, right? They just and they have that no exception rule in the amendment, right? That pretty much, if you're incarcerated, you're pretty much a slave. Which I think it's Amendment 3 on the ballot for November.
Yes, I think I've been getting lots of information about it.
And so what I say, I wrapped it back around when I say voices. I think you could have a very powerful voice in that space when talking about these things, because you can paint a picture because you see it, and you speak to the individuals that are experiencing it, and you have alumni.
We do.
That could show up and also speak for themselves and represent that audience that is being affected, and not have somebody just speaking for no, I've been through it. Right. So I'm gonna make sure
please do. Now we facilitate our work through 3 portfolios.
Okay.
We have our academic portfolio, we have our transitional programs portfolio, and we have a policy and practice portfolio. So our policy department is the one that meets with legislators, that has the parole watch, that for this upcoming session is putting forth a Ban the Box initiative for colleges and universities. So, yeah, we're using our voice.
Yeah.
I think in a small way. I think there's so much more we could be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only been a year, but I wanna do whatever I can do.
Please
to
do.
connect you with somebody. But I had to look it up. No Exceptions Prison Collective. That's what it is.
Okay.
No Exceptions Prison. Theda Murphy, shout out to her. She's a co-director.
Here in Tennessee.
Here in Nashville.
Here in Nashville. Okay.
Yep, right down the street somewhere.
Wow.
Yep.
Then I really do need to connect with her.
And she done an interview with me, so you can check that out.
I will go back.
Theda Murphy. Yeah, but I got a few more hippie hitters for you.
Okay. Oh Lord, am I ready?
Blackness. Right. You are a black woman.
That's a true statement.
And studied, if I remember correctly, African American literature.
Yes.
I did my research.
How do you go to Fisk and not study African American literature? I mean, it's just, yeah.
How has your blackness played a part of the culture cultivated at the and also just your experience and everything that you just taken in and how you internalize it within the work that you're doing?
Yeah. I'll start by saying when I was interviewing for the position, I made it clear to the board, like my background. Like I'm a home girl. This is where I grew up. These are my people. I'm a first generation college graduate. This is who I am. And at that point, I was turning 51, and I was like, I'm at the point now where if I can't be my complete female black self, then I can't take this position. Like I'm just at a point in my life that if I'm not code switching, I'm not pretending. I have to be fully me to be able to do this work. And they accepted that. So the blackness goes wherever I go. It's just part of who I am. I can't leave it behind. But I think it's given me, when we think about the over-incarceration and the over-policing of black and brown individuals, it's certainly touched my heart. Like this is my work, but it's so much more than my work. You know what I'm saying? It's personal. I don't know what else to say. Except it's truly personal. As the mother of black children, as the daughter of a black man, my uncles are black. My family is black. This is personal to me. So I think.
Does that weigh a little heavy sometimes?
What you think?
Yeah,
of course. How could it not? I mean, how could it not? How could it not? So yeah, it certainly informs my perspective. It fuels my passion for the work. It makes it easy to make those long drives. It makes it easy to put in those 10, 11, 12-hour days when it calls for it, because it's truly life and death work. Yeah.
Talk about the future. Who knows Tennessee now? Who knows where things are going politically?
I don't.
Who knows, right?
I don't.
But going into your next year and the year after that, what are some of the goals, I guess, that you have set for thee, and kind of the things you want to continue to do, maybe some things you want to implement, and kind of just the change you want to, the impact and change you want to have?
Absolutely. I definitely want to expand our imprint. Like I said, we'll be in every direct run prison. We want to be able to do that scale up and do it well, and do it in a way where we maintain the structural integrity of the organization, that we can continue to support students in a way that helps them to persist, complete, and to not only not go back to prison, but to live full lives once they're released. So definitely that. And you've alluded to it already. One of the things I say to the staff is, we've been around 10 years, but we're still a well-kept secret. I still meet people daily who've never heard of us, that don't know what we do. So the first, to scale and to do it well.
Right.
To scale well. Second, I tell the staff, like, to spread the gospel, if you will. Mm-hmm. To ensure that people know about this incredible life-changing work that's taking place in their state, because the more people that know about it, I've even had friends that have reached out to me that I never would have been comfortable sharing with me. I have a nephew, I have a niece that's at this facility. Can you ensure that they know about the program so that when they come out, they have options and opportunities that they may not have had otherwise? Scale and spread the gospel. Those are the first two goals I have probably in the next year.
I think you touched on this a little bit, but I want to just do it one more time for clarity about how can community, once they see this, they say, "Oh, I want to do something." I know you all are nonprofit people can always.
You know what I'm about to say.
You probably can always donate.
We're a nonprofit. So first you go to thei.org. There's a donate button on each page, because this work does not. I'm not afraid to ask for money. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we do good work. Right. And when you do work that you're proud of, you're not afraid to ask people to support it. If you have a little money or a lot of money, we'll take it. Right. We need it. This work is not free. Right. We're traveling to facilities all over the state regularly. We're ensuring that students have supplies. We want highly compensated individuals doing this work. Right. Can I be real with you?
Yeah.
We don't want people working for pennies. We want highly qualified people to come in and do this work. And then we want to take good care of them. Right. You know, we want to pay for their health benefits. We want to be sure they have a retirement, because this is life-changing work. Right. And they shouldn't have to make incredible sacrifices. Living in Nashville ain't easy, right? It ain't cheap.
It ain't cheap at all.
So we need resources to continue to do this work and to continue to do it at the level at which we have been doing. So first, we'll take your money. Mm-hmm. Second, we will take your volunteer hours. You could just reach out to us. Ample opportunities to volunteer. And then if you don't have the money, if you don't have the time to volunteer, just share the gospel. Mm-hmm. Share it with someone else, the work that we're doing. Right. We need everyone in this city and in this state to know that this program exists, because most of us know someone that is behind the wall that can take advantage of this program.
Dr. Laura, I want to give you the last word, last statement. I really enjoyed this. Enjoyed your energy, your passion, and your honesty. Mm-hmm. And I just think the more we talk about these things, the more people are aware and informed, and just know that there's something that they can do as a community member to support and try to combat some of these things that happen systemically to our community members. So with that, I want to give you the space to drop whatever gems, whatever you want to leave us with, about the work, about yourself, and about kind of, where we are and what we may need to do as community members to be in a better place.
I think at the end of the day, if you believe that you are your brother's or sister's keeper, if you don't believe that, turn this off right now. But if you believe that you are your brother's or your sister's keeper, then we all have this obligation to be there, to be that support for our sisters and brothers while they're behind the wall and when they leave incarceration, regardless of how you feel about the criminal legal system. And I have lots of feelings that I'm not going into today. But according to the system standard, when these individuals finish their term, they've paid their debt, whatever that means, to society. So we have this obligation to support them. Like I said, to not only ensure that they don't return to incarceration, but that they are able to live full and fruitful lives. That is our obligation as our sisters and brothers keeper. So come alongside us and help us do this work and do it well.
Dr. Lure, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Looking forward to having you back too.
Yep.
You
I'll
know?
come back. I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll be ready for you next time. Now that I know how you roll, like you don't start. I'm used to people just kind of like giving you a little softball question, working you up. You bust out with what's justice, what's freedom,
I gave you the softball. I said, hey, what was it like growing up in Nashville? That was the warm up.
Yeah.
That was the warm up.
Now I know it'd be like, was that Ali or Frazier?
Look, it's
like,
deep dish. We gonna go deep. We gonna go deep.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate your time and just keep doing. I'm gonna give you your bouquet of flowers.
Thank you.
Keep doing your work as a fellow Nashvilleian. You making all of us look good as well. And so just thank you for what you're doing and the time and the hours and the energy that you're putting in and the weight that you're bearing and just going into those spaces, on a regular basis. So thank you and thank everybody for listening and watching and. Go to the website. Go check out donate your
That's
time,
right. Don't
money,
donate time, money, yes.
whatever resources, whatever you have.
Right.
Just hit up Dr. Lord. She'll figure something out.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.